Okay guys, this is the Practical Classics Riley Pathfinder that we are restoring, and this is obviously the colour that we have now got mixed up, scanned to the original seats that came out of the vehicle. We've obviously now gone through and resolved all the tears, the cracking and stuff like that, as you can clearly see on here. You can sort of see obviously where there's the odd sort of line, which is where obviously there was some severe sort of cracking. This was obviously had all the splits and things in it and the big holes and tears and stuff like that that was in here originally. So I mean, all this was all the cracks, and these were right through. These were splits right through. These were complete tears. This was a big tear in here. Tears here. There was all tears up the top here. There was tears here. And then this was tears here as well. So there was tears all over this. And as you can now see, that they are now back to a really good state. So they look like they've got a bit of patina in them, which is obviously exactly what we wanted to achieve. So we've obviously done a lot of work to these so far over the last sort of few weeks. It's been quite a lot of intense work on them. It's not something that you can sort of rush and do the whole lot in one hit because of the severity of how dry they were. We had to sort of soften them and get them to a workable condition before we could put pressure on the seats so they didn't break, which is what we've done now. And you can actually physically sit on these now, and we're really pleased with the results. So next stage is now we've got all the primer coat on here. We've now got to start getting the maroon, this ready maroon colour on, and we've got like a little, some of it in a pot of paint, in a little pot here already, and we're going to use a paintbrush, and what we're going to do with that is we're going down all these sort of lines, down these, because obviously this seat was like a bluey grey colour originally, so we need to get, as you can sort of see down here, in these creases is where we need to get, every single one of these creases we need to get. This one here, you can probably see it a little bit better, the original sort of bluey grey in there. You can sort of see down there the bluey grey, and we've obviously got to colour all that in so that that's not visible when somebody sits on the seat and it looks all sort of nice and brand new again. So just get some on the paintbrush. You don't want excess amounts on there, and I've got to try to keep the simmer so it doesn't fall over. And then we're going to just simply push the pleat down and just try to get some down into that pleat like so, and we just got to continue to keep doing that until we've got everything coloured. The main thing here is you don't have to get the whole thing completely 100% coloured with paint. As long as you've got a shadowing in there and the majority of it is done, that's all that matters. You have to excuse my hands getting in the way on the odd occasion. It's a very difficult sort of area to try to sort of get into. And what we're going to have to do is, as we're going along, we're going to have to sort of dry little areas, because what you don't want happening is the paint sticking together, because it will form a complete sort of like skin on the surface, obviously because it's paint at the end of the day. And we need to obviously dry that as we're going so that we're not creating that skin that breaks. And you can see there, we're just going to come over the top of the piping and just give that a bit of a colour. So obviously once we start spraying, we're going to get a lot better, more even coverage. All we're doing at the moment is just trying to get a bit of a base on here. The reason why we did the primer in dark grey was because obviously reds and maroons are very see-through translucent colours, so we needed to make sure that we had something that shadowed darkness through the colour to avoid putting so much on, and then you end up with that very realistic look to the seats rather than a very fake plastic look that you get with like sort of vegan leather, sort of bonded and die-cast and things. So that's not what we wanted to achieve here. We needed to retain originality with the seat, keep all the patina that the seat has got, retain all that originality, and that was something that we wanted to do. So we're just sort of going round at the moment, sort of getting into these, and that's obviously important that you get that paint right deep down in there. So sometimes you might have to sort of stipple that through. I'm just going to go to where this paintbrush is at the moment that's suddenly gone moving around, and that's where I'm going to go to. My assistant was trying to help by moving the paintbrush, but I'm going to stop there anyway, because we're going to dry this now, and then we're going to start to go down these lines as well. So it doesn't really matter about that sitting on the surface and getting paint on there, because it's all going to be painted over anyway. So excuse the noise of the hairdryer for a minute. But try to open that up so that you can get that dried in there. And as you can see, it's already dried, so there's nothing coming off on the hand. So the paint does dry very, very quick as well, which is, you know, which makes it a lot easier for sort of doing colouring and things. The reason why we've got these bottles in here under the seat, I'll tell you why. Obviously, we've put paint down here. The products are water-based, so what you've got to bear in mind is, obviously, when you're drying with hot air, and you've got a water-based product and you're forming a skin over it, you're creating moisture underneath. So if I was to let the top and the bottom join together again, the moisture would want to move to one another, which would stick, and then the paint that we put on the surface, which is obviously leather is painted, that would peel off. So we just leave these on here for 24 hours so that these areas completely dry in their entirety and they won't stick together. So it's just a little sort of thing you've got to bear in mind when you are doing this. Just don't sort of put the paint down there and hope that it's not going to stick, because it will join together with it being obviously water-based products. The moisture will rise. Obviously, as you can understand, heat generates moisture at the end of the day. So obviously it's like drying a house out that's been flooded. You would dry the house out with cool air rather than warm air, and then a dehumidifier to suck away the product. So we do sometimes dry with cold air when we're doing these as well. So you just got to make sure you get all this deep down into the pleats of this seat on the Riley Pathfinder. It's going to be quite a transformation, because this is the maroon colour that it's going to be going to. And as I say, you've got to remember, we're just trying to create a little bit of a shadowing down here rather than fully paint it. Once we get the paint sprayed on, that'll make a difference again. But as you can sort of see there, we're going through. So we're going to now go and start on the top sort of pleat area. And again, we've got to try to get that opened up. Put my pot down on the table. And we're going to need to try to open this up, as you can clearly see there. We've got to open that right up and get that painted in there. And then we're going to have to probably dry that part quite quickly. Well, I say you don't have to sort of dry it quite quickly, but I mean, I'm going to get this one whole area painted from top to bottom, and then I'm going to dry this one plate, and we'll work at one plate at a time, I think. So just got to make sure that you get that paint in there. Doesn't matter about it getting on this, you know, on the here, because we're going to be painting over that anyway with the spray gun. So that's all going to be painted over. The main thing is just to, as I've said before, is just to create that shadowing of the maroon into these areas. And then when you start spraying, you are going to get a much better coverage with the spray. But first of all, we've got to make sure we get this deep into these pleats and the beading area. Let's just cover the beading again, and then I'm going to dry that. I'm not worrying about the right hand side of the beading. I've done the left hand side at the moment, so I'm not bothered about the right hand side at this time. Let's just cover that over. Doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it's got a bit of a base coat on there, that's all that matters. And let's give that a dry again. Bear in mind, when you're using a hairdryer and you're using it to dry all these things, it does get very, very hot on your fingers. So that's all drying now, as you can see. So that's all drying, so that's actually quite good. So we've just got to literally do this, the whole process to the whole seat. So we're going to start here again at this top end here, and we're just going to follow this around. And we're going to be working down to the base of the seat with this one. So again, just making sure it gets all into that crease line. Even though we're going to be spraying, you'll be surprised where, even with the force of a spray gun, that it won't quite get into there. And if we start to sort of turn the spray gun at an angle, we're going to end up flooding the area with paint, which is what we don't want to do. Got to get all that in there nicely like that. So that's that section done. So then we can go on to the base now and follow the base through in the same sort of line. The beauty with what we're doing is none of this is actually going to show up as like a different layer of paint once we start spraying, because the products all self-level and blend into one another. So that's actually the beauty of it. Once we start to get a sponge coat on here as well, which we'll do next, which is what we're going to show you in a second. They're starting to get the base maroon on now. Well, it's the top maroon, but it's the maroon sort of base coat of it on. Here's not so bad, because I think most of that will actually colour in with the spray gun when we come through there. So we've roughly gone to the same area as what we have on the pleats of the seat there, so that's absolutely fine. So let's just give that a dry from top to bottom, and then we're going to show you the sponging process, what we're going to do. Just going to paint the next sort of pleat along on the top here so it ties in with the bottom. And then we will start the sponging process. Just need to make sure that that's got everything in there. Not quite got that in there. Look. Just need to push that right open to get that right underneath there. I know in these particular areas nobody is going to be pushing the seat right open like that, but we just like to do things as the right way and to make sure that they're correct. So let's just dry that while we've got that open. So the next stage is getting a bit of colour on there, a bit of the maroon colour. So we're not too fussed how this is going to go on there at this moment in time, because we're not obviously trying to colour it. So at the moment we just want to get a small amount on a sponge and we're just going to literally wipe it in like so. That's all we're going to do at this moment in time. We're just trying to form a bit of a base for the colour to spray, so that when we start spraying it'll go on okay. So we are going to stipple a coat on as well, but the main thing is at this moment in time is just to get this wiped in. It'll dry very, very quickly. It doesn't matter, you know, that we get it thicker here and compared to there, because that's not going to make any difference. Just push it right down the back of the seat. Because we got them open, they're not going to stick together, so they're perfectly fine. You can wear gloves with this if you want to. The paint isn't going to harm your hands. It does wash off, so that's not a problem. You can get a good scrubbing brush and wash that off. So just wipe it in like so at the moment, just to give it a bit of coverage. It looks a bit of a mess at the minute, but that's obviously the whole idea of what we're doing, is to obviously create the perfection at the end once we start to stipple the colour on and build the colour up. As you can clearly see there now, we're starting to build that colour with now stippling that over. Like so. And that's, we're going to dry, I'm going to dry these first, and then we're going to stipple them as well, so you can get the idea of exactly what we're doing. As you can see, it does dry very, very quickly as well. So, you know, we're rubbing that over and it's dry very, very quick. So obviously what we've got to do now is to go through, we've got the colour wiped on, and we're just going to give that a bit of a stipple coat like so. And then we're not trying to cover this either at this stage either. So the actual paint spraying is going to do that. So what the purpose of this is to get one coat on of wiped on, and then one stipple coat on, and then we should be able to hopefully just do one coat of spray paint and it will all be completed. So it's just gently stippling through with the product, but the seats are certainly coming alive now compared to what they were a while ago. And when you go back and look at the beginning of this series of videos on the YouTube channel, you will see the huge difference of how they've been transformed. So again, we're just going to wipe the coat in here. I will get something down here later on on the next stage when I do this. But we're just going to wipe the coat in. Doesn't matter what it looks like. We're just literally getting that coat wiped in there at the moment. And this is just forming its base really. Then I'm going to dry that with the hairdryer. And you'll see how quickly, I mean, when you consider the prep work that we've had to do with this now compared to the actual painting stage, you can see exactly how much quicker it is to paint compared to the prep stages. So now we've got that on there, we're now going to obviously do the stippling stages as well. And then we're just going to again just stipple this over, the colour on like so. And again, the purpose of this is just to build the colour up. It's not to cover in its entirety. As I say, we're going to hopefully be able to do this and then put one spray coat of paint on here, which will then complete the job. But the thing is, I mean, we're only going to do a small amount of this for you on this particular video. We're going to stop where I am stopping here now. And the beauty of that is, if you happen to get taken away from doing what you were doing and you come back and start painting, you won't see a line here when you start painting the other section. That's the beauty of the product. It completely blends in, and you will not see the two sections that you painted as two separate areas. They will blend in together and you will not notice them at all. As you can clearly see, I mean, you were seeing there before at the beginning of this video and in other videos that we've done where we did the grey. So, I mean, you can tell that there is no difference in the grey shade or anything like that, or levels or anything, where we've done the grey. So just continue stippling over. You want to try to sort of do like a fast sort of stippling motion. I always try to get my paint on the sort of corner of my sponge, like so. So I'm working with that as a leading edge rather than in the middle, which is then other areas are touching and potentially taking paint off, which is what you don't want to do. So I'm always keeping my sponge, you know, on that corner leading edge at all times to stipple through. And try to make sure that when you're painting and you're doing the stippling with the sponge, that you're keeping the whole paint wet as you're going through. Don't allow any of it to dry out, because that could cause like a little bit of a rough area for you to take place, which is what you don't want to happen. You can sort of see the difference that it's got there now as that's now coming alive with the maroon going on. It's going to look absolutely stunning. Got a little area there that I just noticed with we've just missed a tiny bit with putting the paint on there as well, where I've been, because we didn't actually go down and do this line, so we actually missed that, didn't we? So just so you know, so I've just got to paint that down, and that's why you can actually see that through there. Give that a dry. So again, as you can see, it's drying very, very quickly. You know, no colour coming off. It's very quick drying product. It's very quick drying, it's very hard wearing, it's very, very flexible, and I mean, we've only just put that on here, so I mean, you can sort of see that we're really rubbing around with this, and it's, you know, it's not coming off or anything like that, and it's literally fresh paint on there, and you can see all the sort of creasing and patina that's in the seat, and these tears are really holding up well. I mean, you wouldn't really go pressing around on a car seat like that, and this one here we know was the tear, and I'm very, very confident to press and push at that like crazy. I mean, that isn't going to come apart. That's how good the products are that we use and supply here at LRC. So let's just get a little bit more paint in my pot, and just so that you can tell it is the correct paint, we're just going to pour that in. There you go, look. And that's the one that we mixed up. And then I'm just going to do this base here. So we're not going to get right into the bottom of that. I'm going to come back and do that at a later period, because I need to get another bottle rammed in there, which is my bottle for just keeping the seats apart. It's my ingenious way of holding them without any special tools. So just get that wiped in again. And you can see where we're putting this on, how translucent this colour is compared to when we put the grey on originally, if you remember. The grey covered very, very quick, and you can see how translucent reds and things are, and that's why we have to sort of put the darker shadowing colour underneath so that it shadows through to give us that bit of darkness. It's the same as when you're painting like a very deep maroon. A lot of things on cars and things, people have put down like a black base on a maroon so it shadows through. So let's just give that a quick dry. perfectly dry again. That's how quick it dries. It's very quick drying. So again, we're just going to stipple this colour on again. Once again, I know I'm repeating myself, but we are not attempting to colour the seat at this stage. The paint spraying process will do that for you. This is just building body to the colour at the moment. There's no real particular set sort of pattern as to how you should or shouldn't. And what I'm going to do, just as a test for you, is I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to dry that. And then we're going to paint this section again, and then just show you that you don't get that sort of difference where you've painted through and you've maybe gone over with the paint. So you can see it's sort of blended in quite nicely anyway. So what I'm going to do now, excuse my arm, you can see it's blended in quite nicely. So I'm going to start here this time, and I'm going to work my way around to where I've finished. So I'm going to start here and work my way backwards. And we're just going to go over that, and you can sort of see from the video that there's definitely going to be no lines created or differences in shades or anything like that. Because once the lacquer goes on as well, you know, if there was any sort of imperfections, like things, you know, sort of like roughness and things, once the lacquer goes on and you sand the clear coat lacquer stages, you're not going to be getting any problems showing up because the lacquer is going to seal it, and that's going to give you all its good protection. I'm going to put a real thick coat on there as well, just to prove it as well, so it's even thicker than what I would normally put on, just to show you exactly how good the actual products are with them self-leveling. They're really good products. Let's give that a dry. You can sort of bring the camera over and you can sort of see here now, which is where we came through, and you can sort of see where I've been sponging, but you can't see any sort of differences on there at all. And then you'll notice as it dries, it'll all blend in together. And you can see that there, where the two's joined together, you know, it's all blended in, and you know, that's the sort of results that you're going to get. So that is the next stage that we're at with this practical classic video for the Riley Pathfinder. As you can sort of see, we're now sort of transforming from the grey sort of base colour we put in to this beautiful, stunning maroon colour. And then the next stage on the next video that we're going to show you is we're going to be showing you the spraying stages, you know, of how we're going to be doing the spraying. So obviously you know exactly how we're doing all this under here. We've shown you that. We're going to get under there with the paint, obviously with the sponge, with the bottles in here to open this up. We're going to get another bottle down here on this side here to keep this side open so we can paint from here to here. And then we're going to put the bottle in there, and then we can paint this side there as well. So that's how we're going to do all that sort of side of it. Obviously the armrest is taken out completely. We've still got a bit of work to do on the armrest yet on one area that we've got to paint. We've got most of the area painted on the armrest, and you can sort of see that was the original colour of the leather. So it's gone from that to the grey, and now it's going to the maroon colour, which is obviously as it was originally. This was a replacement interior on this Riley Pathfinder that Practical Classics have got. So we've got all the grey painted on here. We just got to start doing the this side of grey and then put the maroon on. So you can sort of see the differences. It's an amazing difference of what it did look like to what the maroon's going to look like. The maroon is just going to look absolutely stunning. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Please do give us a like and a follow. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to Practical Classics YouTube channel. All their details will be in the bio of this video, or where the text is, and what products we've used. There'll be links to those as well. Please go and subscribe to them as well, to the magazine. They could, everybody needs your support, and we really do truly appreciate Practical Classics for giving us this experience to do this, and we are very grateful for everybody that is subscribing and following these videos. It means so much to us. Thank you very much, guys.